Most people love to have adequate control over people around them and circumstances. And the fact remains that not everything can be controlled. Can we control the day and night hours? Can we control the larger political system on planet Earth? Can we control the weather changes? Can we control earthquakes? Can we control the traffic conditions of the city? There's so many things you may not be able to control. And yet, always the attempt remains to keep everything under control. And that can become very stressful. This is Aatmn Parmar talking to you on Awesome Life with Awesome Vibes. And let me tell you, if you are in a control game all the time, you've got to just challenge it once in a while. There's so much fear of letting go of control. And the more the need for control, the more would be the fear. What would happen if things are not under control, people are not under the control, situation go out of control? Are you prepared for it? Do you have that kind of confidence that you'll be able to handle the situation even if it goes out of control? Most of the time, we control others to avoid being controlled. So most control freaks want to control to avoid being controlled. And if you do not like being controlled, why would you expect others to be controlled? For example, you want to control the pests in your house to avoid being controlled by them. You might want to control children to avoid being controlled by children. You might want to control your partner to avoid being controlled by them. And this game can take you away from an awesome life. Now you would wonder, what is the remedial solution? Because it's intimidating, it is fearful to have no control. Well, there is a solution, and that is being in charge. What do you mean by being in charge? Is knowing that you can handle the situation irrespective of your control over them. For example, we may not be able to control the weather condition. However, we can be in charge and choose to have the outfit and accessories accordingly to match the changing weather. You may not be able to control the traffic condition on the roads, and yet you can plan your day very well. That is being in charge. The more you are in charge, the lesser is the need for control. When you withdraw your attention from your compulsion to control things and people, you'll be able to figure out ways and means to take charge of your life. Having that kind of confidence that you can manage, you can handle it, you can overcome adversities, and you can sail through it, you can flow through ups and downs of life. If you're really confident about it, if you're really secure about it, if you really have that kind of faith, you will not waste time in trying to control things which are out of control or which may not be able to come in the purview of your control domain. Life is beautiful if you can truly flow through various experiences without trying to change them, manipulate them, and maneuver them. You may feel stuck, you may get unnecessarily occupied, you may not be able to enjoy the flow of life because you're busy trying to fix things and make things your way. There is a greater plan in place. Even a river seems to be flowing, however, behind that flow is also a bigger plan. With the consciousness evolution, you'll be able to connect to that plan and understand why things are the way they are. As you become more and more aware of the greater plan, you'll have lesser and lesser need to be in control and control things around. Create the system and structure to facilitate the flow and flow within the structure. And that's the secret of awesome life. Know that structure and systems are created to facilitate your flow. Do not fight with them. Do not struggle to overcome control area or seeming restrictions and obstructions. Know that they are encouraging you to flow. And when you create the system, create a structure, don't do that only to control, but do it with awareness of need to facilitate the flow. All this can happen only if you're truly secure and you know you can take charge of your life even if there are seeming adversities and even if things don't go as per the plan. Your preparedness to face the adversities or the consequences will make it easy for you and others to flow as per the greater plan and enjoy an awesome life. Let's reset our mindset to facilitate the flow. I'm going to recite a few Redikall statements, and these statements will eventually help you reset your mindset. You can recite these statements with me or after me. To know the meaning of the words I'm going to use in the statements, join us for our courses and curriculum and learn to design your own statements as well. So let's recite. With radical consciousness, I purify my need to control. With radical consciousness, I purify my need to control. With radical consciousness, I purify my need to control. With radical consciousness, I purify my fear of being controlled. With radical consciousness, I purify my fear of being controlled. With radical consciousness, I purify my fear of being controlled. With radical consciousness, I purify my attempt to manipulate. With radical consciousness, I purify my attempt to manipulate. With radical consciousness, I purify my attempt to manipulate. With radical consciousness, I purify my fear of flowing. With radical consciousness, I purify my fear of flowing. With radical consciousness, I purify my fear of flowing. With radical consciousness, I purify my worries and concerns. With radical consciousness, I purify my worries and concerns. With radical consciousness, I purify my worries and concerns. With radical consciousness, I purify myself. With radical consciousness, I purify myself. With radical consciousness, I purify myself. With radical consciousness, I purify my need for faith. With radical consciousness, I purify my need for faith. With radical consciousness, I purify my need for faith. With radical consciousness, I purify my need for system and structure. With radical consciousness, I purify my need for system and structure. With radical consciousness, I purify my need for system and structure. With radical consciousness, I awaken the flow within. With radical consciousness, I awaken the flow within. With radical consciousness, I awaken the flow within. With radical consciousness, I synchronize with the flow of life. With radical consciousness, I synchronize with the flow of life. With radical consciousness, I synchronize with the flow of life. Keep reciting, stay safe and secure, keep flowing, and have an awesome life.